You'll never guess what my wife demanded on our wedding night. I spent 10 years pouring my heart into carving our wedding bed, only for her to say, "Tonight I am giving my first time to my childhood sweetheart, and well, use condoms." I turned and walked away. But when she saw this scar on my shoulder, her world crumbled. How did a parking lot assault expose a 10-year lie? Why did the man she obsessed over end up behind bars? Warning: the legal retribution at 7:23 will leave you breathless. On our wedding night, my new wife wanted to give her first time to her childhood sweetheart, Nathan. I made a solemn promise: "You love me so much, you'll definitely grant my wish, won't you?" To my astonishment, she stated quite seriously, "We'll use condoms." In that moment, I finally realized that the sincere devotion I'd given for 10 years was nothing but a joke. I tore up our wedding photo, threw away the wedding ring, and dragged my luggage back to Willow Creek. Later, Grace Miller saw the scar on my shoulder, a scar that should have belonged to the Xavier she'd loved for over 10 years. "Just a dog bite," I said, pulling my shirt up calmly, turning away without looking back. On our wedding night, after the guests who had been celebrating our wedding night had left, my wife's childhood sweetheart still lay on our wedding bed, showing no intention of leaving. "Mr. Evans, the celebration is over. Please leave our honeymoon suite. You are the one who should leave." My new wife shielded Caleb Evans, pointing to the door and telling me to leave. I froze, bewildered. A subtle smirk played on Caleb Evans' lips. He didn't even glance at me, rising and brushing past Grace Miller's shoulder, his voice a low, throaty whisper, "I'm going to shower first." Grace Miller shyly nodded, then turned to me with an expectant look. "Nathan, I made a solemn promise that no matter if Caleb and I are destined to be together in this life, my first time must be given to him. You'll fulfill my vow, won't you?" I didn't understand if Grace Miller's first time was the same first time I was thinking of. "Are you saying that on my wedding night, in my honeymoon suite, I should let this man sleep with my bride on my wedding bed?" I felt it was utterly absurd, but then I realized with a start why she had pushed me away at the last minute all those times before the wedding when our passions flared. I had thought she was a girl with self-respect and self-love, and I'd even felt ashamed of my own presumptuousness. It turned out the truth was this: "Nathan, you know we haven't gotten legally married yet. Strictly speaking, I'm not yet your legal wife." My hands clenched slightly, my heart seized with numbness. I waited 3 years for this wedding day, and I've loved you for 10 years. Grace Miller, my voice hoarse. I could barely suppress the rage and humiliation swelling in my chest. This hand-carved wedding bed, I carved for 10 months. It's covered in patterns you love and our vows. My hands, which are most precious as a surgeon, were almost ruined making it. Now you are telling me you want to be intimate with another man, on our wedding night, on this very bed. Nathan, why are you being so unreasonable?" Grace Miller's face momentarily showed embarrassment. "Didn't you say you loved me, that you'd do anything, endure anything for me?" "Caleb Evans is the most important person to me, and this vow is my greatest wish. It's just one night, isn't it? Starting tomorrow, I'll be yours forever. Why won't you even grant me this small request? Do you want me to have regrets for the rest of my life? How can you be so selfish?" I was speechless. The situation was so outlandish that I didn't even know where to begin. Seeing my silence, Grace Miller took out the condoms I had specially prepared from the nightstand, out of consideration for her not wanting children too soon. "Don't worry, we'll be careful." The bathroom door opened, and Caleb Evans walked out, shirtless, a not-so-wide bath towel loosely wrapped around his waist. Completely uninhibited, Caleb Evans lit a cigarette, then pulled the hair clip from my wife's bun, letting her black hair fall loose. He caressed her hair, sliding his hand down to her rounded shoulder, tracing the realistic silk tree flowers on her silky nightgown, praising, "So exquisite, so beautiful." On the wall, my and Grace Miller's massive wedding photo looked incredibly ironic and offensive. I suppressed the initial urge to kill, a heavy wave of dead ash spreading through my heart. "Grace Miller, think carefully. Do you really want to, on our wedding night, with this man?" "Baby, I can't wait," Caleb Evans whispered in her ear, interrupting me. Grace Miller shyly pushed him away gently, then suddenly stepped forward and shoved me hard, slamming the bedroom door shut with a bang. Behind the door, there was the sound of tearing fabric, accompanied by Grace Miller's shy gasp, suggesting her delicate nightgown had been roughly torn by Caleb Evans. That nightgown was meant for me to tear. I had sewn that purple silk tree flower myself, stitch by stitch, just to please her. and add intimacy to our wedding night. Now there was intimacy, but it wasn't mine. The sounds from upstairs were unashamedly loud. I sat on the living room sofa, smoking the longest cigarette of my life. I wasn't oblivious to the fact that Grace Miller didn't love me. As her muffled moans of pleasure reached me, I smashed our wedding photo frame, ****** the next morning. I was downstairs packing my luggage when Grace Miller came down the stairs, wearing a torn nightgown, her legs splayed, walking strangely. "Nathan, I'm so sore, let's go on our honeymoon in a few days." I didn't lift my head, continuing to organize my things. "No need to go." Grace Miller froze for a moment. "What did you say?" I closed my suitcase and looked at her calmly. "Grace Miller, let's end this." My rideshare arrived. I picked up my luggage and turned to leave, not wanting to stay another moment. Behind me, Grace Miller yelled, "Nathan, what are you being dramatic about? Come back. Nathan, you'll regret this." I didn't look back, walking alone to the airport, changing my ticket back to Willow Creek, Colorado. My parents had passed away young, never even seeing the day I got married and had children. Since I had already taken my wedding leave, I might as well use this opportunity to return to the place where I was born and raised, to heal my soul. After all, loving Grace Miller all these years had been truly exhausting. After passing security, I found my boarding gate. Seeing that I still had time, I decided to nap for a bit. Just as I was about to fall asleep, I was abruptly shaken awake, a familiar voice in my ear. "Nathan, didn't you say you weren't going? Why are you still following me?" I was speechless, lifting the plane ticket in my hand, too tired to waste words. But before I could explain, Grace Miller spoke again, sarcastically, "Realizing your mistake now? Weren't you quite stubborn this morning? I'm telling you, it's too late. I've already decided to go with Caleb Evans to a very important place for us, even if you follow us to Willow Creek. I won't go on a honeymoon with you." I raised my eyes. "I didn't say I was going on a honeymoon with you." Grace Miller gritted her teeth. "Then what are you following me for? Don't tell me you are here to apologize for this morning. Seeing as your attitude isn't too bad, we can get legally married when Caleb Evans and I get back." I shook my head. "I'm not going to get legally married to you, Grace Miller." I folded my plane ticket and driver's license together, and flashed them in front of her. My household registration address was clearly written, but after all these years, she didn't even know my hometown was Willow Creek. She had never truly cared about anything concerning me. I made myself very clear this morning. "We are over. Drive. Tang is from Willow Creek." Caleb Evans, seeing Grace Miller's distress, suddenly interjected, "What a coincidence. I used to live there for a few years too. Since we are so connected, let's add each other." He didn't wait for my reaction, forcefully grabbing my phone, scanning my number, then pulling Grace Miller away. I opened his social media feed. The top post was a photo of him and Grace Miller, posted half an hour ago. The caption read, "A winding path, poisoned by you for a lifetime." I saw many mutual friends had liked it, especially Grace Miller's close friends, whom I had paid for flights and accommodation to attend the wedding. It was laughable that yesterday they were surrounding us at the wedding, offering blessings, and today, they were cheering for true love under Caleb Evans' social media post. Indeed, birds of a feather flock together. Under a few comments, I clearly saw a reply from Grace Miller. She actually explained to her friends, "We are just friends." I sneered inwardly. Friends. Friends who give their first time on their wedding night, and then righteously claim that using condoms doesn't count as betrayal. Who can't post on social media? I casually took a photo of a coffee cup in my hand, with the caption, "A winding path, no connection, one person, one's own peace." As expected, as soon as I landed, Mr. and Mrs. Miller were frantically calling me. I didn't answer any of them. After settling in at home, I met up with my childhood friend Jackson at the local spot to vent my frustrations. He patted my shoulder and sighed. "Some people jump into the water to save others, and earn a hero's reputation. But you ended up with a high-maintenance little darling. You pampered her, spoiled her, doted on her, and what did you get in the end?" I also sighed, recalling how tightly she had clung to me, fighting for survival in the water, and took another gulp. After a few rounds of drinks, my phone rang. It was Grace Miller. "Nathan, have you made enough of a scene? What kind of status did you post? You scared my parents. Delete it right now." I was a bit drunk too, and coldly retorted, "Why don't you tell Caleb Evans to delete his? He posted the cause. I posted the effect. You ask your parents and your friends." Grace Miller interrupted me, "Nathan, I can't believe you'd even stoop to being petty about something like this. My friends were just joking around. Besides, didn't I explain that Caleb Evans and I are just friends now? Where are you? Why do I hear an echo?" Willow Creek wasn't that big. The number of well-known restaurants could be counted on one hand. Grace Miller indeed brought Caleb Evans to my friend's bar. At this moment, we were both on our phones, but only 10 meters apart. "You still say you weren't tracking me?" Grace Miller stomped over to my table, Caleb Evans trailing behind her, a perpetually smug yet fake smile on his face. "Drive, Tang, what a coincidence. As he said she wanted to try the local specialties here. I haven't been back in years. Why don't you join us and give us some recommendations?" Before I could speak, Jackson couldn't stand it anymore. He slapped the table with a loud bang. "People around here have backbone. We don't tolerate moochers." Caleb Evans' face instantly flushed crimson, and Grace Miller looked awkward and displeased, forced to turn her attention back to me. "Nathan, let's talk properly, okay? Don't make a scene here. If you are upset, I'll tell them to apologize to you." She lowered her head, swiping on her phone for a moment, then told me to check my social media feed. Good heavens, over 20 notifications. Grace Miller's group of friends had directly lined up and stacked comments under my post. "Brother-in-law, we are so sorry. It's just that Azzy and Brother Wu are such a perfect match, truly made for each other. We were just messing around. Please don't take it to heart." "Oh, what's the big deal? Brother-in-law, you are not unable to take a joke, are you? Azzy agreeing to marry you already makes you the biggest winner. If you don't like us talking about Azzy and Brother Wu, we just won't do it in front of you. Don't be so petty." I laughed in anger. Was this supposed to be an apology? If your shameless adulterers getting together is a match made in heaven, then what am I? Am I the one who ruined it? Grace Miller, enraged, tried to rush at me. "Nathan, don't be ungrateful. You can insult me, but I will never allow you to insult IU. Now, apologize to IU immediately." It was the first time I had seen Grace Miller like this, fueled by alcohol. My eyes also turned red. "So why do you love him so much? Why are you willing to throw away your self-respect for him? Do you know he never intended to be with you? He has a fiancé." Grace Miller's momentum faltered, her eyes showing obvious pain and determination. "I know, but I don't care." "But I do care." Caleb Evans heard the voice. His face instantly panicked. He turned and saw an enraged woman striding in, Samantha Evans. "You, what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here? You haven't forgotten, have you, that you used my frequent flyer miles to book your ticket?" Samantha Evans, without another word, stepped forward and slapped Grace Miller hard, then grabbed her hair and pulled, forcing Grace Miller to look up at her in pain. "You shameless little hussy, you get married and still can't behave yourself. You debase yourself and drag Caleb Evans into it too. What do you intend to do bringing him here?" Grace Miller covered her face and explained, "Sis, you misunderstood. I didn't mean to ruin his relationship. I just wanted to bring him back to the place where we first met, 10 years ago. He saved my life here. I just wanted to repay him." The more I listened, the more something felt off. 10 years ago. Saved her life. What the hell? Jackson also understood the problem, slamming his chopsticks down. "Impossible. The one who saved you back then was clearly him." Grace Miller froze for a moment. "What did you say?" I looked at her with a complicated expression. "The person who jumped into the water to save you back then wasn't Caleb Evans." Unexpectedly, Caleb Evans suddenly rushed forward and overturned my table. "Nathan, are you done or not? Azzy has already made it so clear. If you are unhappy, come at me. Why are you doing such disgusting, underhanded things?" I was almost laughing in anger. "What underhanded things am I doing? You don't actually think I called your fiancé, do you? Do you have ears? She just said that you, the moocher, even used her frequent flyer miles to book a ticket. Nathan, who are you calling a moocher?" Grace Miller shrieked at me, apologized to Caleb Evans immediately. Samantha Evans abruptly yanked her hair. "You shameless hussy, when is it your turn to stand up for him? He *** is *** a moocher. He *** is *** coming to live off my family. What? You still don't know what kind of person your childhood sweetheart is." Grace Miller's face turned green with anger. Say that again. Samantha Evans wasn't one to tolerate nonsense. She dared to speak and dared to hit. After a few rounds, Grace Miller was beaten by Samantha Evans, her face covered in bloodstains, her body bruised, and patches of her hair pulled out. Caleb Evans pulled at one, then the other, the scene utterly chaotic. Jackson stood beside me, arms crossed. She's the girl you've been dreaming of. Aren't you going to save her? I spread my hands. She's not dreaming of me. But we still called the police, and everyone was taken in for mediation. Samantha Evans, in a fit of rage, declared, "I'm done with you," and left Caleb Evans alone. Samantha. Listen to me, Samantha. Watching Caleb Evans chase after his fiancée, I looked at Grace Miller, whose face was covered in scratches, with a hint of sympathy. See? I thought he might break off the engagement and run away with you, Nathan, you jerk. Grace Miller raised her hand to slap me, but I anticipated her move and firmly grasped her wrist. I told you, I didn't do it. I still explained to her that Samantha Evans coming had nothing to do with me. You two were so public, and his fiancée isn't a pushover. Do you really think everyone in this world is as tolerant as I am? So, Nathan, can we just let this go? Let's go back and live our lives properly. Grace Miller's eyes were teary. From yesterday until now, she had said her first soft words. I held her slender wrist, remembering the cold river water that year. Then, too, I held her hand, like this, holding on tightly, thinking that if I held on, I would never let go. Grace Miller. It's over. I let go of her, and of myself. We have no future. I turned, her hysterical screams behind me. Liar. Nathan, you are a liar. Caleb Evans saved my life back then. What's wrong with me repaying him? You are a doctor. You've also saved people. Would you refuse if a female patient wanted to repay you? You said you loved me. It was all a lie. I paused, but didn't look back. After all these years, Grace Miller wasn't my only option. As she said, there were female classmates who shared my interests, the niece of a hospital director, and the family members of patients I had saved, who were grateful and developed feelings for me. But I had never felt anything, because I had Grace Miller. I loved only her with all my heart, thinking that the same devotion would be reciprocated. So Grace Miller. It wasn't that she didn't understand, she just thought my love was worthless. After I returned, Grace Miller called and messaged me every day. I got annoyed and simply changed my phone. She came to the hospital to find me again, but most of the time I was busy with many surgeries every day. To avoid her, I even changed my parking spot to the underground garage. From the operating room to my office to the underground garage, I moved in a straight line, avoiding her at every turn, just so she couldn't find me. But unexpectedly, coming off a night shift that day, I was attacked in the parking lot. I took a heavy blow to the back of my head. I lost my balance and fell instantly. Through my distorted vision, I saw Caleb Evans' fierce, hateful, twisted face. The next second, he abruptly stomped on my right hand. Caleb Evans, what do you want to do? What do you think I want to do? Caleb Evans had 3 or 4 people with him. It seemed he had been ambushing me here for a long time. At this moment, he pressed and twisted my palm with even more force, his expression growing more ferocious. You are the one who called Samantha Evans, aren't you? Tang, you really like to meddle, don't you? Since you want to ruin me, I'll just have to ruin you. Can't be helped. Blame yourself for overestimating your abilities. You've been a simp for so many years. Who told you to bare your teeth now? Caleb Evans' foot twisted, and I heard the sound of my fingers gradually fracturing. I cried out in fear, begging him to lift his foot. I desperately tried to explain that Samantha Evans wasn't called by me. I won't interfere in your affairs anymore. Grace Miller and I have already broken up. Caleb Evans, don't do anything reckless. My hands are needed to save lives. Shut up. Caleb Evans kicked me hard in the face. My mind instantly went blank with pain, and blood immediately streamed down. Dull pain and suffocation made my vision swim, but my only thought was to save my hand. Please. Clubs, fists, and feet rained down on me. Others protected their heads with their hands, but I specifically shielded my hands across my chest, because I was a surgeon. My hands were even more important than life itself. I begged Caleb Evans to stop hitting me. They could say whatever they wanted. I had already broken up with Grace Miller. Wasn't that enough to satisfy them? Pa. A rotten thing I'd already played with 10 years ago. Only a simp like you would treat her like a treasure. I felt a chill spread through me, instantly permeating my limbs and bones. What did you say? 10 years ago. I struggled to look up at Caleb Evans in disbelief. Was it you who pushed her into the water back then? Caleb Evans laughed triumphantly. What pushed into the water? Did she not even tell you the truth? That night I pinned her down by the river. That foolish girl was quite resilient. She managed to jump into the river even while I was on top of her. If I hadn't been afraid she wouldn't drown and cause more trouble, I wouldn't have followed the river to find her. Who would have thought she couldn't see faces clearly at night and actually mistook me for her savior? You dog. You animal. I cursed loudly, despair washing over me in that moment. I felt worthless for myself, and for the foolish Grace Miller. You F*** *****, curse me again. Caleb Evans stomped hard on my right hand, searing pain accompanied by soul-deep terror. At the same time, he pulled a knife from his pocket. The cold blade pressed tightly against my wrist. One cut, and it would sever my tendons and ligaments. No. I cried out loudly. No. Don't touch my hand. You can cut me anywhere else. Please leave my hand. I won't tell anyone about what happened back then. It doesn't matter if you tell. Do you think anyone would believe you? In my last glimpse, Caleb Evans, looking menacing, raised his hand, and the knife flashed silver. The next second, my hand went numb, as did my brain. ******. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. At the time, Caleb Evans and his group were too reckless and never imagined there would be a security guard on duty so late in the parking lot. After they abandoned me and fled, they didn't even consider that my dashcam was recording the entire time. That meant all their criminal acts were recorded. None of them escaped. They were all currently detained in the holding facility. The police asked me about my plans. I looked at my right hand, whose tendons had been severed, and spoke dazedly. How many years will they get for this ruined hand of mine? The police sighed. At most 10 years. If you can persuade Ms. Jean to press charges against him, he could get a longer sentence. I gave a self-deprecating laugh. I had studied for 7 years, pursuing my bachelor's and master's degrees, day and night. Finally becoming an excellent surgeon, my biggest dream was to be a doctor, to save lives and heal the wounded. Amidst such demanding studies, and in the rare moments outside my unwavering conviction, I only did one thing, loved Grace Miller. And it was precisely this one thing that completely ruined me. Why? What did I do wrong to deserve such punishment? In the dead of night, all my feigned strength shattered into pieces, tears soaking the bedsheets. There was a rustling sound beside me. A hand pulled back my blanket and gently caressed my face. Nathan, I'm sorry. It was Grace Miller. She couldn't get in during the day because I didn't allow visitors. I didn't know how she managed to sneak in at night, but as soon as she saw me, she started crying. I stared at her face numbly, feeling none of the poignant emotion I might have felt alone. I said calmly, I don't want to see you. Please leave. Nathan, don't be like this. Grace Miller suddenly threw herself onto me, pressing down on my wounds, causing a dull ache. She trembled and sobbed in my arms, like a pitiful stray cat. She was like one, and so was I. I used my only movable left hand to push her away. Her tears stained my bandages. I was too much in pain to move. Letting her cling to me with all her might, she said, I'm sorry, Nathan. I'm sorry. I never thought it would turn out like this. I'm the one who hurt you. I turned my face away, not wanting her to see my tears. It has nothing to do with you. I brought this upon myself. I deserved this retribution today, simply because I had coveted something that never belonged to me from the start. I knew you didn't love me. Yet I foolishly hoped to warm your heart. So, who can I blame? Leave, Grace Miller. I don't want to see you anymore, and I don't want you to see me like this. Nathan, I know you are hurting. Let me make it up to you, okay? Let's reconcile. I'll take care of you for the rest of my life. I'll support you. I'll listen to everything you say. Grace Miller cried even more movingly, for a moment making me unable to distinguish between reality and a dream. But when this day, which I had so desperately longed for, finally arrived, I realized that I truly didn't care as much as I thought. So-called love, when it's unbalanced and unequal from the start, is destined to perish. I have nothing left. From now on, let's go our separate ways. You don't have to be entangled with me anymore. I pushed Grace Miller away again, but she held onto my hand tightly. I couldn't break free, so I let her. But the warmth I once craved now felt utterly alien. Nathan, will you promise me one thing? She looked at me so tenderly. I understood. She wanted to tell me not to do anything foolish. I won't. I said, I won't take my own life. You can rest assured. I never wanted you to bear these burdens. No. Grace Miller's face flushed, and she finally spoke slowly. Nathan, could you please write a letter of understanding for Caleb Evans? I was struck as if by lightning out of a clear sky. My entire world went silent, looking at the face I had loved for so many years. In that moment, I felt like nothing but a joke. I had even thought she came to me because she felt guilty. Nathan, as long as you let Caleb Evans go, I promise you, I will marry you willingly. Even if your hand can never move again, I'll take care of you for life. I beg you. Grace Miller's tears fell onto my hand and face again, but I only felt a searing, burning pain. My reason, tainted by poison, could no longer maintain its composure, ignoring my many injuries. I pushed her away with what felt like suicidal force. Grace Miller, why? All these years, you've never told me why. Why are you so hopelessly devoted to Caleb Evans? Even now, she was still pleading for him. I didn't know whether to describe her as pathetic or ridiculous, or myself. I stared at her face, my gaze piercing. Is it just because he once saved your life? Grace Miller was already sobbing uncontrollably. Isn't that enough? My heart clenched violently, just because of that. Yes. Grace Miller shrieked, her voice rising. You wouldn't understand. When I was 15, I went to Willow Creek for a trip. One night, passing by the river, I was pinned down by thugs and harassed. In that moment, I wished I could die immediately. I found an opportunity and jumped into the river, but I couldn't swim at all. Can you understand the feeling of desperately waiting to die alone in cold river water? Caleb Evans saved me. When I opened my eyes, he was like a light illuminating my world. Many years had passed. When we met again, I was about to marry you, and he had his own fiancée. I knew we had missed our chance, but I longed for that feeling of love at first sight. I longed for his strength and tenderness as he held me in the river, desperately pulling me back to shore, even as his shoulder was scraped by the iron railing on the bank, bleeding profusely. He kept comforting and coaxing me, afraid I might fall asleep and never wake up. Can you understand that feeling, Nathan? Can you understand? I calmly listened to Grace Miller's hysteria, then used my only movable left hand to pull open the collar of my hospital gown. Near my left shoulder, there was an old scar. It was because after I rescued Grace Miller, I myself fell back into the river due to injury and excessive blood loss, exhausted, and was swept downstream. Caleb Evans, who came looking for her along the river, found her just as she was waking up, and she mistook him for her savior. That year, Grace Miller was 15, Caleb Evans was 16, and I had just turned 18. That summer, there were no cicadas, only heavy rain washing away the muddy, distorted memories. I looked at Grace Miller and said, of course I can understand, because the man who saved you was actually me. I couldn't describe the expression on Grace Miller's face. She froze there like a robot, then suddenly stumbled back 2 steps, screaming like a madwoman, clutching her head. Impossible. Impossible. No. How could it be you? I remained calm. After saving you, I accidentally fell into the river myself. After being rescued and recovering in the hospital, I went looking for you again, wanting to confirm you were safe. Later, we met again in Los Angeles. You didn't mention it, so I didn't either. I didn't want to exploit a favor. Grace Miller, I wanted the purest love too. I had always known she had a childhood sweetheart she couldn't let go of. She didn't even remember his name. Yet she so carelessly allowed him to live in her heart for so many years. Now, are we to blame fate for playing tricks on us? No. Grace Miller just didn't love me. Because there was no love, there was never any cherish. I will not provide a letter of understanding. Caleb Evans will receive the harshest possible punishment. You can attend the hearing then, and you can see the evidence. The person who assaulted you back then was actually Caleb Evans. My dash cam had captured all the evidence, including Caleb Evans' arrogant confession of rape that day. This was the ultimate self-exposure. Not even a miracle could save him. No, you are lying to me. It wasn't you. This is all something you made up. Grace Miller was completely unhinged, utterly unwilling to believe a single word I said. Her reddened gaze fell on the old scar on my shoulder blade. Suddenly, she let out a wild laugh, grabbed a paring knife from the bedside table, and lunged at me. Fake. It's all fake. You are lying to me. The biting cold blade was mere inches from me. In that moment, I even lost the impulse to dodge. My ruined right hand had already left me in despair. I even pessimistically thought that, in that instant, dying by her hand wouldn't be so bad. To punish this woman for the rest of her life, with an irreparable mistake and regret, wouldn't that also be a good ending? But human instinct is, after all, fierce and powerful. In the nick of time, my already injured right hand subconsciously lifted, blocking the attack. With a muscle reaction so numb it felt no pain, it protected my heart. My body told me I still wanted to live, my subconscious told me they weren't worth it. A nurse, hearing the commotion, rushed in. Grace Miller finally regained her rationality and consciousness. Crying and screaming in fright, clutching the freshly bleeding wound on my right hand, completely like a lunatic, I just told her to leave. From then on, all I had to do was wait and see. That would be enough. ******. 2 months later, I, dragging my injured right hand, attended the court as the plaintiff. My lawyer was professional and highly capable, having prepared extensively beforehand, even though Caleb Evans' side had also brought in equally capable legal support. Intending to use factors like emotional disputes to diminish his motive for maliciously retaliating and harming me, they tried to shift the joyous attention to me, the unrequited lover, who then broke up the lovers and took what wasn't mine. In the witness stand, I even saw Grace Miller. She was dressed in a neat business suit, with exquisite makeup. Across the few meters separating her from the defendant's stand, her gaze met his, while to me, she remained a stranger. I, Grace Miller, solemnly declare that all the testimony given in court today is voluntary, every word is true, and I am willing to bear all legal responsibility if there is any falsehood. Grace Miller finished her oath without even glancing at me, who was in the plaintiff's stand. Immediately after, Caleb Evans' lawyer asked triumphantly, "Ms. Grace Miller, what is your relationship with Mr. Caleb Evans?" Grace Miller replied, "We are just friends, to be precise." It was my one-sided, unrequited love for Caleb Evans. I knew he had a fiancée, but when I realized he had saved my life 10 years ago, I fell hopelessly in love with him, and this dispute also stemmed from my inability to control my emotions, which led to my fiancé Nathan's displeasure. Nathan provoked Caleb Evans repeatedly, causing Caleb Evans to break up with his fiancée and lose many resources. In a fit of anger, Caleb Evans decided to teach Nathan a lesson. Defendant's lawyer: "So, you can testify that this malicious conflict was merely due to some misunderstandings and emotional disputes?" Grace Miller: "Yes," the defense lawyer said. "Your Honor, members of the jury, it's clear now that the plaintiff, displeased that his fiancée had found love elsewhere, took out his anger on my client, repeatedly harassing and threatening her, destroying her marriage and reputation. Under such circumstances, my client was forced to retaliate. We ask that you fully consider the motive behind these events during sentencing." My lawyer glanced at me. I understood his meaning. He wanted me to stay calm and not let the situation get to me. We were clearly the party in the right. If we lost our composure, we could easily be at a disadvantage. I simply gave him a faint glance, saying nothing. Turning my gaze back, I looked at Grace Miller in the witness stand. She knew I was watching her, but she couldn't meet my gaze. Having reached this point, there was no affection left between us, not even a trace. When it was my lawyer's turn to present his case, he confidently introduced new evidence. When Caleb Evans' voice came from the video, the entire courtroom fell silent. The dashcam footage not only showed the full extent of their assault on me that day but also captured his arrogant self-incrimination. What he had done to Grace Miller by the river 10 years ago was also revealed. No sympathy from any bystander was needed. All that was needed was for Grace Miller to crack. I just kept my calm gaze on her, watching the smugness on her face turn instantly to shock and then distortion. Today's hearing was about this one case, nothing else. When the final verdict came down, Caleb Evans was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison for aggravated assault and other charges. But the moment the gavel fell, Grace Miller suddenly lunged over the defense table like a madwoman. "You animal. Caleb Evans, you monster. You ruined me back then. I am going to kill you. You lied to me for so long, you're not even human." The next second, I heard Caleb Evans' pig-like shriek as Grace Miller, with a utility knife shed hidden in her bra to full security, slashed his face right there in court. Grace Miller was taken into custody for endangering public safety and aggravated assault. Mr. and Mrs. Miller came to find me, seeming to have aged by more than a decade overnight. They begged me to introduce them to my former lawyer, pleaded with me to find a way to save Grace Miller. "Nathan, Grace is still young and doesn't know any better. She was misled by bad people. Please, for the sake of her genuinely wanting to get revenge for you, help her." I could only tell them I was powerless to help. This was Grace Miller's choice. Whether it was her choice today, or her choices before, she deserved the consequences. Mr. and Mrs. Miller said that now that everything had come to light, why couldn't I let go of my unresolved issues and start over? We all know you truly loved Grace. Now that the misunderstandings are cleared up, you too should. I raised my right hand, which could barely straighten anymore. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, is falling in love truly the only important thing in a person's entire life? I studied for so many years, finally reaching an age where I could use my knowledge to give back to society and save lives. I could perform hundreds of surgeries a year, save countless lives. But now, my hand is ruined, and it's telling me to let go of past grievances, to start over with Grace Miller. Do you have any idea how much I regret meeting her, loving her? Everything I've endured today is simply the price I've paid for being obsessed with romance for the past 10 years. I brought this upon myself, and for the rest of my life, I only want to do more meaningful things to atone. I resigned from my hospital job. Given my condition, I was no longer suited to be a surgeon in such a large hospital. I planned to return to Willow Creek, take a position at a small clinic there, and continue my studies in alternative medicine. Before I left, I received news that Grace Miller had attempted suicide in the detention center. She had slit her wrists with a sharpened toothbrush, but fortunately, she was discovered in time and taken to my former hospital. Mr. and Mrs. Miller came to see me again, saying she refused to cooperate with treatment and was crying and pleading only to see me one last time, out of a doctor's compassion. I ultimately did not refuse. After several months apart, the once gentle and beautiful girl was now tormented, looking like a drug-addled demon. She was emaciated, her eyes vacant, and her mental state seemed to have deteriorated. I couldn't say I felt sorry for her, but there was a certain melancholy about it. She still recognized me and spoke my name. I nodded. Your life is still very long, Grace Miller. It's just that I won't be a part of it anymore. A person's life actually has a high tolerance for mistakes. It's just that sometimes, when you become too fixated on something, anything that runs deep enough can become a knife. It wasn't wrong that I loved Grace Miller, and it wasn't wrong that Grace Miller couldn't let go of Caleb Evans. Being right wasn't wrong, and being wrong wasn't truly wrong either. But once you make that choice, you must bear the consequences. She said she would never forget me her entire life, that she had already married me in her heart. She said her only regret was never having any physical intimacy with me. Otherwise, she might have seen the scars on my shoulder long ago. I smiled and said, "It's all right, Grace Miller, you must let go, whether you want to or not, because I don't want to become a second Caleb Evans in your heart." I thought that she didn't love Caleb Evans, and she certainly didn't love me. What she loved was just herself, the part of her that always got what she wanted and did whatever she pleased. That's all. Another spring came, and Grace Miller had likely been released from prison. I don't know how she is, and I haven't contacted her, or her family and friends since. I opened an alternative medicine clinic in the small town in Willow Creek, and married a girl I met while gathering herbs. And I am going to be a father soon. I paid the price of a disabled right hand, yet I never lost hope in the world's greater love or personal affections. I believe that as long as a person is willing to give themselves a break, there are still many happy ways to live.